Good morning. It is Monday. It is 7:45, and I wanted to do this last little bit of our notes. There wasn't very much left, and then kind of a quick little review so that you feel comfortable tomorrow with your test. Remember, tomorrow's our test, so make sure that you're ready. I've had a couple of DBQ questions, so make sure if you have any questions about that, you ask me. And again, thinking about in the future using Wednesdays, if you guys can get in here for any short length of time. God, my hair is crazy. To get in here for any short period of time. I'm always here after school for the most part too. If you want like 10, 15 minutes of my time, I promise really that's all it takes. If you ask Molly, she came, I don't even know if we talked 20 minutes. So it doesn't take long, but it's just one-on-one that I can kind of hear what you're thinking and kind of put you in the right direction. All right, so we were on page 20. And again, this is the last little bit of the French Revolution. The reign of terror has happened. It has gone crazy throughout France, and it has gone, again, one step too far. This now has lost the support of most of the make sense Montesquieu middle class people. It's certainly lost its support from people who strongly support the Catholic Church, and it has lost support from those people outside of France that were also supporting the revolution. So we have to come up with something different. And on the top of page 20, we get that the Marauderian reaction. And it is, again, an opposition to Robespierre, and it starts July in 1794. Followers of the Enlightenment who were influenced by the eyes of Voltaire helped to bring down Robespierre. July 27th, Robespierre was denounced at the convention. He's arrested and executed the next day. He doesn't get a trial. He doesn't get due process. He's arrested, then executed. And a lot of that has to do with removing Robespierre, who is seen as the forefront of this reign of terror that just, again, for lack of a better word, terrorizes Paris in that time period. After the death of Danton, many in the National Assembly feared that they would be next. I mean, this just begins. Who's next? If they can take down Robespierre, who else can they take down? Working class radicals no longer supported him, and the Thermidorian reaction in 1794 ends the reign of terror. And I would put a big box around B, because you have to know what ends this thing. There has to be a stopping point. There has to be some point of which France takes the reins back and says, this is crazy, we can't do this. Constitutes a significant swing to the right, conservatism. Remember our pendulum. We've been swinging this thing in the middle for a long time with France, and it's really started to swing before the French Revolution over to that conservative side. And then we have gone all the way to the left, to where we are killing people, throwing out the church, throwing out the calendar, everything that people know in their lives that are familiar and comfortable to them have been taken away. And so what's going to happen in order for people to feel safe again? They will accept anything, including going all the way back, not just to the middle, but all the way back to the far right of this conservatism that's going to hold on Europe for like the next 50 years because of this fear of the reign of terror. Respectable bourgeoisie, middle class lawyers, professionals who had been liberal tried to assert their power, reduce the powers of the Committee of Public Safety. They closed the Jacobin Club, and being called a Jacobin is like the worst thing you can call anybody. It's horrible. Gosh, this is driving me nuts. Okay. And then we get the Directory. So the Directory is the next step in trying to figure out, how are we going to run France? How are we going to rule France? What can we do in the meantime? And so they come up with this Directory, which on paper, it doesn't make any sense, because you're not going to get 5 people to agree with anything. So they throw away that constitution. They write another one. That one didn't work. Let's write another one. So a new assembly chose a 5-member executive to govern France, and they're called the Directory. That gives them a lot of power. 5 people make all the decisions for France. It's bicameral. Executive was a directory made up of 5 directors, almost all male. Middle class is going to control the government, and we know that middle class is little teeny tiny, so it's not going to do very well either. Its support comes from a very narrow band. Economic controls were removed, which ended the influence of the sans culotte. More paper money is printed. Prices are going to rise. At the top of page 21, the Directory in 1795 disbands women's workshops, urge women to tend to their homes. And the reason being is, again, because women were a really large part of the French Revolution. And this Directory is doing everything they can to ensure that there are no mobs, right? That's the thing that they're fearful of. It's mobs. We don't want those mobs. So what can we do? We get rid of women's groups. We'll close the Jacobins Club. We'll do anything we can to remove those mobs or the ability for them to create a mob. There are a lot of challenges. They are left with a lot of discontent, a ton of economic problems. So challenges to the Directory is the aristocracy also see this as a time to get back. We haven't really talked about them much. The aristocracy left France, the ones that didn't get killed, and they're just waiting. They're just sitting there waiting because they know this isn't going to work. They know the revolution isn't going to work. Revolutions don't work. And so they're just waiting for the right moment. And this is the right moment. This Directory is the right moment to try to come back and take back France. So, reaction to a provision in the Constitution stated that 2/3 of the men elected to the legislature had to be ex-members of the National Convention, so you couldn't be. That's a lot of people to try and find. So the rebellion put down with the help of Napoleon, underline Napoleon because he's obviously our next guy. He's going to be a whole chapter of Napoleon. Thus, the constitutional republic made itself dependent on the military. So now they've gotten the support of Napoleon and the help of Napoleon. Now they're going to need the military. The sans-culottes repeatedly criticized the government, its economic policies, but have no influence to make that change. The conspiracy of equals formed to overthrow the Directory and place it with a dictatorial democratic government, which would abolish private property, enforce equality. Again, 2 steps too far. That's too crazy. This is kind of like communism, and the world was not quite ready for that at all. The Directory repressed the conspiracy of the equals without difficulty, guillotined everybody, you're done. Growing inflation, mass public dissatisfaction mounted, but ignored by the Directory. They're just doing their thing, not paying any attention. And then the elections in April. So elections come in 1797, resulted in a victory for the Royalist. Surprise, surprise. In an election, the people of France elected the nobility back. Crazy, crazy. But the Directory said, we don't like those results, so we're going to throw them out. And so we start again this craziness. A dictatorship favorable to the revolution established. Idea of maintaining the republic as a free or constitutional government is gone. So everything that just happened is now over. It's crazy. Crazy. Military successes during the Directory enabled it to return to power in 1799. The First Coalition effectively defeated England, isolated, removed its army from the continent. The top of page 22, France defeated English armies in Egypt, the Battle of the Pyramids. And we have the end of the Directory on page 22. A conspiracy emerged to save the revolution and prevent a royalist return to power. Abbé Sieyès, the leader of the conspiracy, invited Napoleon to join the conspirators. Come, help us, Napoleon. Throw over these royalists who we think are coming back. And so he did. And we get the coup d'etat, in which Napoleon returns from Egypt, drives the legislators from the Legislative Assembly, and Napoleon takes over. We're right back where we started. Napoleon instead of King Louis XVI. And it's crazy. It's really, really crazy. About as crazy as my hair is this morning. I do not know what is happening with my hair. Okay, so on the next couple of pages, we have a chart. Social classes. Make sure you know where all these people fell in line with the French Revolution. The age of Montesquieu, Rousseau, Voltaire, you don't necessarily need to know post-Napoleon because we're not doing that. Make sure you know these terms on page 25. You should be able to say or think about what each one of them means. And then on page 20, page 26, please look and be able to answer those questions. Analyze long-term and short-term causes. You should be able to do that. Analyze the impact of the Enlightenment. You should be able to do that. To what extent did the political, economic, and social and religious goals of the National Assembly become a permanent feature of the French Revolution? To what extent did each of the following groups succeed in their goals? And compare and contrast the goals and actions of the leader of the National Assembly with those of the National Convention. So you should be able to do all those. If you could do all those, you will be awesome on the test. You also have today a quiz, a quick write quiz that looks at, again, thesis statements. So make sure you take a look at that. Have a great Monday. Remember, it's Martin Luther King Day. And if you need anything, have any questions, let me know. And I will see you tomorrow for your test on Chapter 18 with all your assignments too, so you don't have to do a yellow sheet. Get to work.